So what would be the same and what would be different? What would be the same is that exam content as well as the structure of the exam. What this means is that the types of questions you're going to see on this exam, the timing of the questions, the score methodology, the score algorithm, the score scales, as well as the integrity and reliability of this exam. This exam is a predictor of your academic performance in a business school. It is supposed to evaluate the skills that are relevant to the business schools, and because it is essentially the same exam that uses the same methodology, it will be accepted for the applications at par with the regular exam. Now, again, like I mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or in the Q&A box. I will be addressing all of your questions at the end. I also have my colleague Tatiana, who is going to be answering questions as we go along. Now, what is different then? Well, of course, the delivery model, your test-taking experience is going to be different. The way you're going to, of course, check in for your exam, the way you're going to be taking your exam is going to be different. The proctoring is going to be, of course, different. The online exam will be proctored remotely with a human, as well as with a recorded video. The way the scores are going to be reported and accessed are going to be different, and the pricing and certain policies that pertain to this exam are also going to be different. So let's talk about the structure of this exam. As you probably remember, or you might know this by now, the regular GMAT exam gives you an option to choose one of the three section orders. You will see these three options on your screen, and these are the options you can choose at the start of your exam. The online exam is going to be different. It is essentially option number 3 with some modifications. So let's talk about these modifications. You're going to have the quantitative section first, then the verbal reasoning section second, without any breaks. You are then going to have a 5-minute break, and then you're going to have the integrated reasoning section and no AWA. Now, you might be wondering why no break between the quant and the verbal sections, and why only a 5-minute break between the verbal and the integrated reasoning sections. The explanations to this lies in the security of this exam. As I'm sure you can appreciate, because this exam is not the same for everyone, unlike some of the other exams, such as maybe the LSAT, where everybody is writing exactly the same exam at exactly the same time, and then everybody pretty much knows what questions were on the exam. On the GMAT, you're going to be receiving questions from a large pool, and these questions are going to be different. That is why for the GMAT, it is really important that the questions in the pool remain secret. It's really important that these questions are not disclosed or remembered. So the reason why you're going to see this fairly strange format is because this is how the GMAT is trying to protect the integrity of the exam. Now, by placing the quantitative reasoning section first and the verbal reasoning section second, the GMAT essentially ensures that you're going to have very little chance of remembering questions. Now, it's pretty much almost impossible to remember a verbal reasoning question, but many people are still remembering their quantitative reasoning sections. So by removing that break, the GMAT is going to make it so much more likely that you're not going to remember any of the quantitative reasoning questions. But that very same reason, you're only going to have a 5-minute break versus an 8-minute break, because in the test center, the breaks are fairly tightly controlled. What you can access during the break is going to be monitored. For example, you cannot access your phone, or you cannot access any sort of notepads where you can write down the questions. However, when you're at home, if you want to use a washroom, you are going to be leaving that test area, And whatever you do during this time is not something that's going to be recorded or monitored. So by reducing that break, the GMAT essentially, again, makes sure that you don't have enough time to write down any questions. So that's why it's there, just in case you're wondering. And of course, this does make the test a little bit more tiring because you do not have a break between the quant and the verbal sections. So you are going to be there for approximately 2 hours without a break. You need to account for that when you're preparing for this test. Now, at the beginning of the test, you're going to have to go through a check-in process. The check-in process is going to take approximately 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to explain to you exactly what this check-in process is going to look like. So again, you know what to expect. Your total experience is going to be approximately 3 hours with 1 5-minute break. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure to address them at the end of the seminar. So what do I actually need to take the test? Because you're going to be taking the test at home, you're going to be using your own technology. You are going to need a personal computer that runs a Mac OS or Windows 10. No other operating system is allowed, so you cannot use, for example, Windows 7 or Windows XP. You also cannot use Linux. You must have a webcam as well as speakers and a microphone in your computer. You're welcome to use a desktop or a laptop. It is up to you. You also need a reliable internet connection. The wired connection is preferred. The wireless connection is okay, but tethering, which means connecting through your phone, is explicitly prohibited. So you need to make sure that you actually have a landline internet in order to take this exam. You need to have private space at home or at work. So nobody can interrupt you throughout your test. The software that you're going to be using to take this test will need to be installed on your computer, and it does not work well with corporate firewalls. So if you're planning to take your exam at work, you need to talk to your network security team at work to make sure the software is not blocked. Better yet, take this exam at home. You're going to need to have clean workspace. On your desk, you must have no materials and no devices present at any time throughout your exam. Now, where can you actually take this test? You can take it, of course, at home, but not everywhere at home. There are certain places in the world where this exam is not available. So it's not available in these countries, mainland China, for the reasons of certain regulations. Their organization that regulates tests in mainland China prohibits online tests in high-stakes environment where a lot depends on your performance, as well as Iran, North Korea, Sudan, and Cuba for the reasons of sanctions. This is an American test, as well as in Slovenia, because the privacy laws in Slovenia prohibit this sort of experience as well. Now, you could take this test if you are not located in this country, even if the test centers in your country are open. There are no restrictions. If you have the test centers open in your country, you could certainly take the test at the test center, or you can take it online. Whatever you prefer, whatever works for you. Now, how do you actually register for the test? Registration for this test is going to be very similar to the registration for a test center test. You're going to be booking your appointment on mba.com. Here's a screenshot. As you could see, there is a new section called the Future GMAT Online Exams, as well as Future GMAT Exams. So the Future GMAT Exams is where you're going to be booking your test center appointments, and the online exams is where you're going to be booking your online exam. The exams are available 24/7. So you could take the exam at 3 a.m. in the morning if you wish. The exams are available in 15-minute increments, until June 15. There are, of course, limited availabilities for different exams. So if you're trying to book your exam over the next week, maybe the 3 a.m. appointment is not going to be available. But I've just this morning checked appointments in May, and pretty much any appointment in a 24-hour window is available. So anytime in 15-minute increments. Right now, the exams are available until June 15th. This is supposed to be a temporary solution. Of course, this date might get pushed out, but for now, you can book your appointment only until that day, and from as early as tomorrow, because you need to book your appointment at least 24 hours in advance. Now, when you are booking your test, you're going to have to accept the privacy policy. We'll talk about the privacy of the exam. Of course, there will be certain things that you would need to agree to, because all of your experience is going to be video and audio recorded. And you will also be selecting up to 5 schools at the time of registration. Unlike the test at the test center, where you're choosing these schools when you actually show up for the test, here you're going to be choosing them ahead of time when you register. Now let's talk about some of the important policies about the regular exam versus the online exam. The regular exam is delivered on site, and of course it's proctored live. There are live people who are monitoring your exam. It's available generally 5 or 6 days a week, and it can be taken every 16 days, a maximum of 5 times per year. There's a lifetime maximum of 8 times, and the scores are valid for 5 years, and the exam costs $275. Now, the online GMAT is a little bit different in terms of the policies. It is online proctored, and it's remote proctored. That means there's a proctor who's not in the same place, somewhere else in the world, could be on the other side of the earth, and the proctor is monitoring you. It is available 24/7, as I've mentioned, and it can only be taken once. The regular exam, you could rebook in 16 days, but the online exam, at least as of now, because it's a temporary solution that was designed to address the needs of people who need to submit their scores now, it can only be taken once. Except for technical disruptions, we are going to be talking about this a little bit later. What is good about this exam is that it does not count towards your maximums. So even if you take this exam once, you can still take the regular exam 5 times in that year. I don't know why you would want to, but you could. The scores are also valid for 5 years, and this is going to be a separate score. So some people are asking, would the schools know that this is an online exam? Yes, they will, because this exam does not go on your regular record. It does not show up there. It is a separate report that contains just one score, this online score. This exam is also less expensive. It is $200, and again, that's in American dollars, versus $275. Again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the Q&A. We will be addressing them at the end. So let's talk about the pricing. There is a variety of different fees that the GMAT is charging for different things. So let's talk about these fees for the regular and online exam. Now, here are the fees for the regular exam. There's a fee to register. There are also fees to reschedule or cancel your exam. There are fees to send the scores to additional schools. There are also fees if you cancel your score on the day of the test or within 72 hours of your test. You could then reinstate your fees for reinstate your score for a fee of $50. Because of this whole situation that we are in right now, the GMAT is now waiving all of these fees. So what does this mean? Is that if you have an exam already booked, you could reschedule this exam or you could cancel this exam for free. The score reports to additional schools are still not free. You still need to pay $35. but you can reinstate an earlier score for free. Let's say maybe you've canceled. We had one of our clients not too long ago cancel a score of 720, actually more than one, and because they wanted to retake their exam and get a higher score. Well, in this case, you can go ahead and reinstate any of these canceled scores, and the reinstate fee is going to be waived. So let's now talk about the fees for the online exam. The registration fee is $200, and the reschedule fee is only $25. You need to reschedule your exam if you're not ready within 24 hours. So there is no sliding scale, it's just $25. If you decide not to take your exam, the cancellation fee is $100. And what is interesting is that the additional score reports to different schools are free. So you could send your scores to as many schools as you want for free. You do not have to pay $35. One of the reasons why the GMAT has this policy and has waived these fees is that the online scores cannot be previewed. On a regular exam, at the end of your test, you will see your scores, and then you're going to have 120 seconds to choose whether to keep or cancel your scores. And then you have 72 hours to cancel your scores for a fee of $25 US. However, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, you are not going to be able to see your score at the end of the test. You're going to get it in a few days by email, and you will not have an opportunity to cancel your scores. Now, if you already have an existing test center appointment, it cannot be transferred to an online exam. You will need to cancel your appointment. You will receive a full refund, and then you can rebook your online test. So let's talk about your experience during the exam. Before the exam, you are going to need to install a special software called OnView, because the exam is delivered by the GMAT in partnership with Pearson VUE. That's why it's called OnView. So you'll check the system requirements by going to gmat.com. You'll download the software, you'll run a system test, and you also make sure your workstation is compatible. For example, you have a webcam, you have a microphone, and so on. When you're ready for your test, you are going to show up at your workstation at the time of your test. You will then run the system check, and the software will again confirm your hardware. You will need to take pictures. Usually, you will be taking the pictures with your phone, and you will be uploading these pictures to this exam, to this special place that you'll be directed to. These pictures are going to be, first of all, your photo ID. You're going to have to take a picture, let's say, of your driver's license, of your passport. You also take a selfie, a picture of yourself. You also take pictures of your workspace, of your desk, of your surroundings, of the room, of the door to the room, of the walls, of the different corners of the room. And you're going to be uploading these photos to, again, the place that you'll be directed to. Then the proctor, a live human proctor, is going to check all of these pictures, look at you in the webcam, and communicate with you via a live link, both video and audio. The proctor is going to ask you to rotate your webcam so that the proctor can see the entire surroundings, confirm that the pictures accurately represent your surroundings. And then via software that you're going to install, the proctor will check that you do not have any other applications running on your computer. So you cannot have things such as Microsoft Word, you cannot have any other browsers, any screen capture software or anything else. The software will actually check that nothing else is open. And then once this is done, the proctor will initiate the exam for you. There will actually be two different proctors. There will be one proctor that does all the check-in process, and then there will also be a proctor who is going to be monitoring your exam. So that proctor is now going to take over, and then the proctor is going to be monitoring you by a video and audio feed at all times. So you need to remain within the field of vision of the proctor at all times. You cannot move out of a webcam, otherwise your exam might be canceled. The proctor must see you at all times and also must hear you at all times. So every piece of noise, anything that's going on, every sound in that room is going to be recorded. If you have any trouble throughout your exam, you could talk to the proctor either by voice or by a chat. There's going to be a special chat functionality. Now, I'm actually going to show you a quick video that will demonstrate how this experience is going to look like. So again, you're going to know what is it that you're going to expect on the day of the test. But how does the GMAT ensure that their exam remains secure? Well, first of all, the exam is going to be using the lockdown browser. So what does it mean, lockdown browser? That means that certain functionalities are restricted. For example, you're not able to copy, you're not able to take screenshots, you're not able to navigate to any other websites and so on. There'll be live video and audio monitoring and recording. That's why I was mentioning that you are going to need to accept this privacy policy, because the video of you is going to be recorded and stored for a certain period of time, depending on the privacy policies of different countries. This duration might be different. There's also going to be some artificial intelligence tools to detect gazing, ID matching, and so on, just to make sure it is actually you who is taking the test. The software is able to detect your eye movement, and if you are moving in a certain, if you're moving your eyes, let's say in a certain direction, then the software will know. For example, if you're sitting facing the door, the webcam will obviously be pointing at you and not at the door. If somebody walks into the door, the software is intelligent enough to detect this by your eyes, by the movement of your eyes. And that's why I was saying it's really important to have a private space for this exam. There's also going to be validation of the video. There are security specialists that are going to be reviewing videos, and there's going to be also an AI software that will go through the video to detect if anything unusual happened throughout your test. So that is all to ensure that the test is secure and it's fair and nobody's taking this test instead of you, and you're not using any prohibited items or you're not looking at the things that you're not supposed to. Now, one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, how do I actually take notes? Well, because this exam, again, needs to be secure, you would not be able to use pen and paper, just because then you can take these notes and reconstruct some of the questions based on your notes. In order to protect the security of the exam, the only thing that will be allowed for you to take notes is going to be the online Notepad. Here is how the online Notepad is going to look like. It is essentially a graphics and a text editor. If you've used, let's say, Microsoft Publisher or Microsoft PowerPoint, it basically looks something like this, a very simplified version. You're going to be able to draw a straight line, or as you could see here, a circle or a rectangle. So some of the basic shapes you could draw on this notepad. You are able to use different colors, which is different from the regular exam where you're just given a black marker. And you could use the text function. That means that if you are taking your notes that relate to a quantitative question, you actually don't have to write with a mouse. You can use your keyboard. Now you can use, again, different thickness of the lines and so on. You don't have to keep your whiteboard open. You can open it as needed. You can then close it when you don't need it. Now the whiteboard is a floating whiteboard, which means that you could move it around, you can resize it, and you could have your question on the screen, and you could have this whiteboard floating around somewhere, and this is how you can be taking your notes. Now, we also get asked, am I allowed to use something like a stylus? If I have a pen, a digital pen, could I use that digital pen? As of right now, no. If the exam will continue for much longer than June 15th, there is some talk of potentially allowing this sort of a technology. But as of right now, you are allowed to use your mouse only your computer mouse. On the IR section, you will continue to use a calculator. That calculator is going to be exactly the same as you have on the regular exam. But again, it's just for IR section. Again, if you have any questions about the Notepad that we haven't addressed, just put them in the Q&A box and we will make sure to address them at the end. Now let's talk about the scores of the exam. So first of all, the most important thing to remember is that the section scores and the total scores are still going to be the same. The percentile scores are still going to be the same. And that is why business schools are still going to be accepting this exam just as they do with the regular exam. Now, there isn't an AAA, so the schools might ask you to, for example, write an extra essay, potentially. Many of the schools now have video interviews. These video interviews include timed essay, and that is why most of the schools now don't rely on the essay from AAA as much. The scores are valid for 5 years, as I've mentioned. They are valid as a separate report. You will select 5 programs during the registrations. And as I have already mentioned, you will not be able to preview or cancel your scores. The official scores are going to be sent to you by email within 7 days of the exam. They will be sent to the 5 schools that you've chosen at the beginning of the test at the same time. So if you do not wish for the schools to receive your score, you don't have to choose any schools at the beginning of your test or during the registration. You can send your scores to additional schools at no extra cost after you receive your score. Now, if you are eligible for any special accommodations, then the special accommodations are going to be available for the online exam as well. They won't be available from the start of the exam. They'll be available in early to mid-May. And the special accommodations on this exam are going to all pertain to extended time. You might know that the special accommodations are awarded or given based on certain medical notes, certain medical disabilities or accommodations. Now, in the test center, the special accommodations might include a private room. Well, of course, here you already have a private room, so it'll be just extended time. Now, if you are given extended time, 50 or 100% more time, you're also going to be given one extended break, which is going to be 10 minutes, and that is going to be before the IR section. Some people are asking, will I get a special break if I have special accommodations between the quant and the verbal sections? Unfortunately not. You will not be getting that. Now, the approval and review process for special accommodations is going to be the same. It's going to be done by mba.com. And if you have an approved accommodation, then that approved accommodation will pertain to both the regular exam as well as the online exam. Now, what I'd like to do right now, we still have a couple of things to talk about, and then we'll open for Q&A. But I would like to share with you a video of how your exam is going to look like. So I'll stop the sharing. Your screen might blink for a couple of seconds, and then I will share with you the video. It takes about 1.5 minutes. Then we will come back and we'll talk about a couple of other things. All right, so this is the video. I'll let you watch that video for the next minute and a half.
Interested in taking your exam at home or work? This video will walk you through some important steps to make sure you have a successful testing experience. Scheduling an online exam is similar to scheduling other exams with Pearson VUE. When it's time for your scheduled exam, go to your testing programs page at pearsonvue.com and log in to your account. Navigate to your test and choose Begin Exam. Then download the OnVUE software. Double-click and run the OnVUE software to begin the check-in process. As a reminder, be sure to choose a private area to take your exam and plan to remove any pictures or notes from your workspace. Follow the prompts to take your headshot photo and show your ID. Then snap pictures of your surroundings. Once the check-in process is complete, your exam will begin. During the exam, you will be monitored through your webcam and microphone. Once you begin testing, you will not be permitted to leave the room or move out of the proctor's view. If you have questions during the exam, feel free to use the chat icon at the top of your screen to contact the proctor. Thanks for learning about OnVUE Online Proctoring. Good luck on your exam.
All right, so this is how your experience is going to look like. Close this now. And let's go back and talk about a couple of additional things about this exam. So we talked about special accommodations. Let's talk about what would happen if something happens. What if you have internet issues or some sort of connectivity issues? Well, that depends on when this happens. If these issues happen before the exam, your exam is going to be reset, and then you're going to receive a voucher to take this exam again for free. Typically, it will take about 5 days for you to receive that voucher. So you might not be able to take the exam the next day, but you'll be able to take it very shortly. However, if anything happens while you are in the middle of your exam, let's say you're using the desktop and the power goes out, well, there is some resilience built in. So if there is a temporary short interruption, the exam will start at the same point. However, if there is a long interruption, then you are going to again receive the voucher to take this exam again. Now, if you have any sort of a technical difficulty, let's say the exam freezes, then the proctor will typically know and see that. However, you can also raise your hand and chat with the proctor using the chat box or using voice. Please note the time of the exam will not pause during your chat with the proctor, just like on a real test, on a regular test. If the exam is not recoverable, then the exam will be reset, and then you will be allowed to retest after that verification process is complete. So that's why there will be some security specialists that are reviewing the videos and exactly what happened. They're reviewing software logs. And you are going to be able to retake this test only in case of technical difficulties. So if there are no technical difficulties, then you are not going to be able to retake this test. This is a one-time test. Now let's just talk very briefly about the final thing, and then we'll be answering all of the questions that you've submitted so far. How do you prepare for this test? Well, remember that the GMAT is an exam that assesses your advanced reasoning skills and your readiness for the rigors of a business school. This is not an exam of math and English. It is a test where you need to develop these skills. The online test is very similar to the in-person test in the structure and question types, and that is why your preparation is actually going to be very similar. You, of course, need to also prepare your workspace and prepare your computer. You also need to get used to using that whiteboard. Unfortunately, there is no demo available. You can just see the picture. So that is why you can try to take notes using this very common software, such as maybe Microsoft PowerPoint, but you need to have a plan to prepare. This is really important. So how should your plan look like? Again, if you've been to our math or verbal refresher class, so if you are already in our course, you already have seen this plan. So this is going to be a nice refresher. First of all, you need to review the theory that's tested on GMAT, so some of the basic formulas and so on. And then you need to learn how to do this test. You need to actually start developing the skills. The process of developing the skills, and this is what you have experienced in our course already, if you are a part of our course, you were reviewing the theory before each class, you came to the class, you learned the strategies, and then you were mastering these skills at home, all throughout the 6 weeks in class. And at the end of the course, I know some of you have already finished your course, you're going to continue mastering these skills until you are ready for the test. Now, our programs are 6 weeks long. In case you are not in our programs yet, it is a fairly small class. We are going to provide all the study materials to you. You will be able to come back and retake this class completely free for 1 year. And there's a lot of extra support included, like 3 personal tutoring sessions. We'll provide advice on the MBA application and so on. The next 2 classes that are coming up are the evening class that starts on May 5th. That's a 6-week program on Tuesday and Thursday nights. And the next weekend class is on Saturdays and Sundays. It's going to be a morning class from 10 to 2 Eastern time. And you can still save $200 on this class. Now, we are going to work with you until you are done. So if you are in the middle of our course and you are at the end, you have a peace of mind knowing we are here to help you and support you. Now, again, as a refresher, what resources you're going to be using. You'll be reviewing your theory using a special software that we're going to provide. You'll be taking your classes right now in a live online format, and then you're going to be doing a lot of homework on our adaptive online platform. If you ever get stuck, the 3 hours of private tutoring are going to help you. You are welcome to retake the classes either online or in person when we reopen. And the goal is by the time you are done, you will have a toolkit so that you can approach any question on the test that comes your way. Now, if you've already been studying extensively and you feel like you already know the strategies and you're just looking for some extra practice resources, you can get access to our online platform only. We have a special offer now for this pandemic situation with many people are studying at home and need extra study resources. So a special offer, $200 off our software. And you can get a free 7-day trial. So if you go to this website, admitmaster.com/offer, you can request this access. And as a part of this access, we're going to give you 7 days to evaluate the software for free. Now, the software is included with our GMAT Mastery course. So if you are taking this course, we are going to be providing it to you for free. You're going to find these offers on that website, admitmaster.com/offer, of what is included and what is the pricing. Now, the most important thing is that simply learning the theory is not going to be sufficient for the test. You need to start developing the skills. Those skills, the advanced skills, is what the GMAT wants you to demonstrate. And that is why if you develop these skills, you are going to be getting higher scores. So our courses are very heavily oriented towards teaching you the skills. That's why we go much deeper than pretty much any other course. And that is why our students will get higher scores. So approximately 1 in 3 of our graduates will achieve the scores of 700 or more. So if you are already committed to this journey, if you would like to get started as soon as possible, or if you are already in the middle of your studies, we have some extra sessions to help you out. This Thursday, there will be a special seminar. It is done in partnership with Rory Sheehan. Some of you have already attended Rory's webinars. Rory is a best-selling author. He is a fellow Canadian. He's a good friend of ours, and he's finally agreed to do the seminars with us. It was really hard to get him into our classes when we did our live classes, but now that we're doing everything online, he can do these seminars from his own home. So these are amazing seminars. The next seminar is going to be this Thursday, and it's going to be about how do you turn on your brain for learning. He's going to talk about how your brain works, how you retain information, what you can do to increase the retention, and also he's going to teach you how other people process information so you can positively influence them and understand how their brain works. That's an amazing seminar. It is $20 Canadian to attend this seminar, and you can bring a friend for free. If you feel at the end of the seminar that it wasn't worth your while, we'll refund your money, but I think you are in for a really nice treat. The seminar is going to be offered twice at noon and at 7 p.m. And with your ticket, you can attend both. If you haven't been to our verbal refresher class, then I would encourage you to register. It is on Tuesday next week between 7 and 9 p.m. We also going to hold a very special seminar. If you are considering applying to Canadian business schools, we're going to have an admissions panel with a few Canadian schools where we'll talk specifically about how the applications this year and potentially next year are going to be different. It is going to be at noon next Thursday on April 30th. So don't miss this seminar. It is going to be providing a lot of very helpful information to you if you are considering applying to Canadian schools, either from within Canada or from outside of Canada. Finally, our live online GMAT classes, as I've mentioned, the next evening class starts on May 5th. The next weekend class starts on May 23rd. You can find all of these, except for the admissions panel. It will be there this afternoon. It's not on our website yet, so we will make sure to email you all of these resources, or you can go to admitmaster.com/offer to find all of these things, all of the discounts that we're offering, as well as the links to all of these events. Now, we're going to now take the next 15 minutes to answer the questions that you've submitted. We're going to go through the Q&A, and then we'll go through the chat box as well. So some of these questions we've already answered. For example, are you able to cancel or decline the score? And the answer is no. Only weekdays. Now, you are going to be able to take your test on other days as well. If you are looking at the next couple of weeks, you will probably see only weekdays, but going further, you are supposed to also see other days as well. If you booked your exam before the online option was made available, and it's scheduled for May, would I be able to take it remotely? So unfortunately, the answer is no. The exam appointments are not transferable. So if you have your exam booked for May 12th and this test center is not open, which is very likely going to be the case, you would be able to cancel and rebook your online exam. Again, there is no cancellation fee. Any chance that some business schools do not accept the online GMAT exam for next year admission? So far, all of the business schools that were contacted by the GMAT said that they will be accepting this exam at par. And remember, the exam results are valid for 5 years. So this is your chance to take an at-home exam. You might find the exam experience a little less stressful because you're sitting at home. You might find it a little more stressful because you need to use that noteboard and you have only a 5-minute break. In any case, you could take this exam and sit on it and send it to schools only when you are ready. But this score is going to be used again at par, and it does not go on your record. It's a separate exam. So if you take the test and you score well, if you apply to MBA programs in the future, then we cannot use the score because it doesn't go on our record. Well, because it doesn't go on the record doesn't mean that you cannot use it. You actually can, you just have to submit it separately. It's a separate record. There's a record where all of your scores for the last 5 years go, and that is the regular test center exam. And there's also a record for the online exams. So you will need to share both of these with the schools. Now, the question was, if the test center doesn't reopen, will I get reimbursed the difference in pricing? You will be reimbursed the full exam fee, $275, and then you will need to rebook the $200. Now, of course, if you paid in a different currency, let's say in euros or in Canadian dollars, then your bank might charge you an exchange rate difference if the exchange rate has changed, or the foreign currency conversion, which typically banks charge anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5%. So that is something that you might be out of, but otherwise you're going to get the full $275 back. Can you have a Notepad available? Well, the Notepad, I've shown you the online Notepad. That's the only thing that you could use. So you cannot use anything else. You cannot have any Notepad. Of course, remember, everything's being recorded. So if your desk has drawers, all of these drawers need to be closed. You're not able to open them. Will the test centers notify if they're closed? I still have a test center booked for mid-May, haven't heard anything. Do I need to cancel on my own? Now, if you don't have to cancel right now, you're welcome to if you'd like to. If you do not cancel, so let's say your exam is booked for the end of May. If you do not cancel your exam in the unlikely scenario that the test center reopens at the end of May, you will actually have to go and take the test. Otherwise, you might have to pay a fee. So you could cancel it right now, or you could wait. The GMAT is going to cancel your appointment for you if the test center is not open by then. So you don't have to monitor the opening and the cancellation. Okay, so you won't be able to see a score from 200 to 800 once you complete the exam. When will you get a draft of the GMAT result? As I mentioned, you're going to get your score within 7 days by email. The proctor is a person and a software, both. There's a software that's looking at you and detects irregularities, and there's also a live person. Now, what is the rule on the water and food? You should not be allowed to have anything on your desk. That means you would not be allowed to have any water or food. Now, you can check this with the proctor. Would you be able to perhaps eat the food during the break at the place where you take your exam, or you're going to have to take it somewhere else? But while you're doing your exam, you're not going to be able to eat. If both tests were available, do we recommend the online test over the in-person test? Okay, so that is a very interesting question. That really depends on you. I would say if you are comfortable with the software and if you're ready, you could certainly take this online test, because this is a one-time experience. And then if you're happy with your results, you don't have to take a regular test. In any case, in most countries, the test centers are now closed. There are very, very few countries where test centers are open. This does not apply to Canada or the United States. Right now, the test centers are closed. And as soon as they reopen, the online exam is very likely going to be not available anymore. Now, of course, as the countries might open at different times, the online exam might be there while there's a test center exam as well. So if you are not afraid to spend $200 to go through this experience, please feel free to take this exam. Again, remember, if you don't choose your schools right away, you could choose where to send your score later on. Now, are you able to use external keyboard and mouse that are connected to my laptop? That is probably, the answer is probably yes. I don't believe this was explicitly addressed, but I would probably say yes. If you have a reason to use that, that should be okay. You're not allowed to use any other devices other than keyboard and mouse. So you might have to explain to the proctor why you need that. Can you try the note-taking tool in advance? Unfortunately, not at the moment. It might be available in the future, but right now, no. That is why we were suggesting that you try software such as Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Publisher that has some of the similar features, or any sort of a graphics editor. Next question is, in terms of score cancellation, after 7 days of receiving the score, you wouldn't get the few days given to accept your score or not? Again, you would not. If you chose the 5 schools at the beginning, the score is going to be sent to these schools at the same time as it's sent to you. Remember, this is supposed to be a temporary test that is just primarily designed for people who need to meet certain deadlines. Now, of course, if you are applying next year or the year after and you're ready, you can also take advantage of this test. Nobody is going to hold this against you. But if you are not on a tight timeline, then just don't choose the schools at the beginning. You can send your score to the schools afterwards. So why the writing section? There's probably, again, a reason, probably related to security. We don't really quite know why the GMAT did not disclose this. So you have to type down everything. Yes, you will have to use the whiteboard. Even if you were to write some mathematical formulas, you're going to have to type them up. Okay, somebody asked the question about the water as well. So again, you could check with the proctor during the exam. There might be some additional communication about that, that whether you're going to be able to have any water later on. Anyone trying the mouse and the whiteboard? Did the test makers try doing calculation? Numbers will not be easy with a mouse. We might lose time. This might penalize us. Some time is a major factor. Well, again, remember, you are going to have the text box. So this is where you're going to be typing your equations. And also, generally, when you're doing a lot of equations, when you're doing a lot of math, that probably means you're not really using the right skills. This is not a test of math, as I'm sure you already know by now. This is a test of your advanced reasoning skills. So doing a lot of calculations is not really what the GMAT's all about. Now, if you do a lot of calculations on the test, and if you're approaching the test more from a math perspective, then if you are not in a rush, I would suggest that you wait until either some other arrangements are made or the test center is going to be reopened. But for the majority of the people who learned how to do the questions with less math, you should be able to handle this node board. Now, of course, it will be a little awkward, and yes, the timing is going to be an issue. That is why I suggest that you actually try it out in like a Microsoft PowerPoint that has text boxes and so on. Okay, all right. So can you change the Admit Master test to work with the same breakdown, IR, verbal, and quant? Some of the tests that we provide with our course allow you to change the order of the sections. And you could certainly try the test that way. Again, you don't have to take the AWA. Remember, this is the format of the test is very similar to that option 3, quant, verbal, and IR. There's AWA at the end, which you don't have to take. So you could certainly already practice. And again, you can practice without that break at home if you'd like. Can you watch the video later? Yes, absolutely. We are going to be sending this video as a part of the follow-up to this seminar. And we're also going to send you the list of Q&As that you can find on mba.com. The mock test, we've already addressed this. If you are part of our GMAT Mastery program, we've already provided to you a set of mock tests. And if you are not, then I'm actually going to send you a link where you can get these tests that I was talking about. They're only $40 Canadian for 5 tests, and they do allow skipping the breaks as well as taking the exam in a different order. All right, it's very hard to imagine. How can I do multiplication and division? Type down formulas. Again, try this in a text editor. Do you think you'll get the same score while the whiteboard software you can with a pen or scratch pad? Seems like a really big deal. Again, if you are scoring above 700, Charles, then you should not be doing a lot of calculations. So that is why I'm suggesting that as you're using our software, as you're taking this test, try to use some sort of a text editor. You can even use Word. Just use text boxes and see if you are actually able to handle this whiteboard. Is it guaranteed that we get a score in a week? Yes, it is guaranteed by the GMAT that your score will be available in 7 days or less. All right, so we have all of the questions here that were opened. Tatiana, are there any questions that are still not answered? Let me look at the chat box, and if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box or put them in a Q&A. We're going to address them right now, but are there any unanswered questions yet? Okay, so we have a question here. Okay, let me take a look at these questions really quickly. Okay, can I use my paper? Yes, we absolutely already addressed this. Can we use 2 screens or link a laptop to a bigger screen and use mirroring so both screens show the same content? No, that is not allowed. You must use just 1 screen and everything is going to be recorded. And now if the deadline to apply to a school is in 2 days, but the online GMAT exam goes to the school in 7 days later, does that mean I missed the application deadline? Now the application deadlines and the GMAT submission deadlines are now different this year. Again, come to this seminar that we're going to have next week so you can hear directly from the schools. But the majority of the schools are now extending the GMAT deadlines by a minimum of 30 days. The extreme, probably what I've heard from Stanford, is the application deadline to Stanford was April 8th, but the deadline to submit your GMAT score is August 1st. So definitely the schools are going to be accommodating because they also understand that you cannot take the exam right now. Okay, if my Wi-Fi disconnects for 2 to 5 minutes and then comes back, what happens to my progress and will the time continue going onwards? Now, short disruptions are going to be okay. However, it is really not advisable. If your Wi-Fi is not stable, you should be using a wired connection. Because if that happens potentially more than once, there could be some potentially security concerns and your exam might get canceled. Now, if it happens, if it's determined that you've actually done something to break your Wi-Fi, then you might not potentially be able to retake this test. There might potentially something go on your record. Now, you could, of course, plug out the cord from your computer. That is going to be recorded. So if that is really unexpected, then there will be certain procedures to help get you back on track. Remember, you would have to probably wait at least 5 days before you take the test again. So trying to make sure that your connection is stable. Okay, we already addressed the question, can you submit your GMAT score later? Yes, we already addressed that. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Let me take a look at the Q&A box. I think we have a couple of more questions here. All right, can you change the Admit Master test? Okay, we already, Admit Master test to work with the same breakdown. Yeah, Sabrina, we already addressed that. If you are with our GMAT Mastery program, that it does include practice tests, and over half of these tests allow you to choose the order of the sections and choose your breaks. So you can absolutely practice for that. Will you have access to the Admit Master software? Yes, Diana, you already have access to that software. We've already activated for you. What schools will be for the panel? There will be a few schools. We're just confirming them. We know that Rotman is going to be there. We're looking at a few other schools as well. We are just going to confirm them shortly. Will the GMAT tell us the stats of the overall performance of the online test? If not, where can we get more information on test taker experience? Do you know a website we can follow up on? Yes, we are going to send you a link to a special website on mba.com where there's going to be a little more about the test, and there will be some Q&A as well. Will there be stats on the performance of the online test? I do not believe this will be released to the test takers. However, as of right now, the GMAT expects the score scales to be the same, which means that your online score is going to be measured. So the percentile score are going to be assigned the same way as the regular scores. And then if the GMAT determines that these scores are inflated, for example, then the percentile scores might be changed. Can we reschedule online exam to another time? Now, again, like I mentioned, you can reschedule your online exam to another online exam within 24 hours or within more than 24 hours of your test. You can reschedule and you will need to pay a $25 fee. The in-person and the online exams are not interchangeable. Right now, if you have a test center appointment, you can cancel it at no fee. You'll get all your money back and you can rebook your online test. However, if you decide to cancel your online test, you are going to have to pay a $100 cancellation fee, and then you will need to book your real test center test and pay $275. So you cannot transfer one test to another. Okay, does the room need to be empty? If there's a bookshelf behind me with unrelated books, is that okay, or have empty everything out? Now, again, you could check the exact requirements on the mba.com. Typically, as long as you don't have the resources within your reach, like if your bookshelf is quite far behind you, and as long as you're not reaching to those books, that should be okay. However, if the proctor determines that something is not okay, the proctor might ask you during the check-in process to remove certain materials, certain resources. For example, if you have like a picture of your family on the desk, that picture will need to be removed. If there's something that is much more serious, like you have to actually maybe move your desk or move that bookshelf, then you are going to be provided these instructions, and then your exam is going to be rebooked for free for a future date. So you're not losing your appointment. If you might be losing that particular appointment, but you're not going to be using your attempt, and you're not going to be losing your fee for this exam. Okay, a couple of more questions. Are there online practice exams for the interim exam? Yes, again, like I mentioned, the online practice exams are pretty much the same. The whiteboard is going to be different. So that is why you can't really, the whiteboard isn't actually available as of yet. You could see the picture of a whiteboard, but you can't really try it out yet. So I know there was a question there, and Tatiana said that you can try the whiteboard. Right now you can. So you have to use some sort of a graphics editor in order for you to try that out. Okay, I do not believe that we have any other questions at the moment. So what I'd like to invite you to do is please make sure that you register for these seminars. In my personal opinion, that Thursday seminar is just going to be amazing. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to learn so many things about what you, how your brain works. So it's definitely going to be worth your while. And like I mentioned, you can bring your friend for free. And also make sure that you register for our free classes and register for our online GMAT class. If you are already our student and if you already completed our program, as long as it was in a year, you should be able to register for and retake these classes for free. However, if you are our new client, make sure to take advantage of these offers by going to admitmaster.com/offer, and you can join our class and learn all these amazing skills that are going to help you on the GMAT. Now, I don't see that we have any other questions. Let me just check really quickly. Okay, how new is the AI software they're using to look for cheating? Has it been around for a few years? Again, that is something that is not, the algorithm to that software isn't really something that's publicly available. That is the software that is fairly new. It's constantly evolving. And whenever there are irregularities, then the live person, the live security expert, is going to take a look at the recording and determine whether any sort of cheating has occurred. So the AI just simply alerts about potential violations, and then the humans are actually making a decision. So the AI itself does not make a decision to cancel the score. It just simply keeps a watchful eye on the whole test taking experience. Well, with this, I don't believe we have any other questions. So again, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on staying on top of your studies. Congratulations on being committed to your studies. I look forward to seeing you very shortly. I look forward to seeing you at any of these events. We're going to be following up by email. So please make sure to check our email. It is going to come to you later this afternoon. It is going to contain all of these links, as well as the video, as well as the link to the Q&A. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please make sure to reach out to us. You can just respond to that email that we're going to be sending, and we'll be glad to answer your questions. So thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.